Off we go on a Wednesday. It's the 24th of September. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. Today's show is brought to you by Wellness Plus Care. More on them in just a bit. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. We're glad to have you with us today. If you could on the way in, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership, and we will get to super chats in between topics throughout the course of the next hour plus. Sarah, at 12:45, we're going to be joined for the first time by Derek Coleman. Derek is the owner and the creator of All 22 Ravens film analysis, and he is going to give us a 15-minute study on what Detroit had success with, particularly on third down, containing Lamar Jackson on Monday night. Really looking forward to having him on. I know a lot of you guys have been clamoring for him to get inside the vault for months now, if not years. So we look forward to bringing Derek on in just a bit. Before then, Sarah, the Ravens are straight up wasting Lamar's phenomenal start to the year. We're going to get into the numbers that back that statement up. Some head-scratching calls and alignment from Zach Orr and this overall defense through 3 weeks, particularly on Monday night. Chris Long and Chris Sims have some things to say about this defense and this overall team as a whole. We got a lot to discuss. Great to see you, partner.
As always, we have something to discuss, so let's jump right in. Here's what's interesting to me, Bobby, as we kick off this Lamar Jackson conversation. I think a good way to do that is to look at the fact that the Ravens heading into week 4, despite how bad they looked against the Lions, Jamison Hensley pointed out per ESPN's analytics that the Ravens still have by far the best chances of winning the AFC North. The Ravens are tied for the worst record in the division with the Browns. Obviously, they have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Browns, but the Steelers and Bengals are both 2-1. The Ravens have a 71.9% chance of winning the division. We're still over 70% here. Steelers at 20% are second, and then the Bengals crumble to 4.9 and the Browns at 2.9. And so I remember when I first saw this tweet from Jamison, I'm like, it's not surprising that they're still number one, but it's 70%, 71% to number 2 being 20%. What's the reasoning? And of course, it has to be who's at quarterback. A big part of what's happening. You've got Lamar Jackson compared to Joe Flacco, 40 years old. Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old, and now Joe Burrow is gone. So, of course, that puts the Ravens up, but at 71%. Here's the problem, though, Bobby. As you mentioned, as the headline says, the Ravens are wasting away this golden opportunity. The Ravens still have their quarterback. The Bengals can't say the same. They cannot say the same. The Browns and the Steelers have fillers. They have stopgaps. The Ravens have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in his prime. And yet here we are with a league-leading scoring offense. 37.0 points per game is the average. And a 1-2 record to show for it. All the other top 5 scoring teams have winning records. Behind the Ravens is the Lions with the 34.3 points per average. They're 2-1. Colts and Bills, both at 30, basically 34. They both are undefeated. Seahawks, they're averaging 29.3 points per game. They have a winning record at 2-1. Here's what's insane. Lamar Jackson has the most touchdowns so far through 3 games at 9. He's number 1. 0 interceptions. That's tied for number 1. He's a 9.6 yards per pass. Number 1. 141.8 passer rating. Number 1. And this CBS Sports graphic on the screen puts into perspective what this should mean for this team. All other quarterbacks with 9 or more passing touchdowns to 0 interceptions through the first 3 games of a season were all undefeated. How about Patrick Mahomes doing that in 2020? 3-0. Aaron Rodgers doing it in 2020. 3-0. Patrick Mahomes doing it again in 2019. 3-0. He does it again in 2018. 3-0. Tom Brady, 2015. 3-0. Aaron Rodgers in 2015. Peyton Manning in 2013. 3-0. They were all undefeated, Bobby. This 32nd ranked defense overall defense, 31st in scoring defense. They're wasting away this phenomenal start by Lamar Jackson. And it's not just the defense. Obviously, it's the leader of the defense, Zach Orr, and then, of course, the leader of them all, John Harbaugh. It's all happening on their watch. They have phenomenal quarterback play with a 1-2 record, and they're completely letting it go to waste through 3 games of the season.
Yeah, and one of two things could happen as a result moving forward, right? One, this is the worst scenario of them. Could it be very similar to what happened last year in Cincinnati, to the point where Lamar in this offense just simply cannot overcome the other phase of the game, the other side of the football? Or two, and hopefully the more likely scenario, that as things start to mold within this defense and the new pieces and hopefully more health from an availability standpoint improves in the coming weeks, will they at least, Sarah, be able to get back to average, which would allow the Ravens offense to carry them through to an 11-12 win season? Right now, is that the likely scenario? I don't know. I really don't know, because as we talked about and we agreed upon going into week 3, we don't know who this defense is. We have no clue what this defense is going to be. Now, through 3 weeks, the statistics tell you exactly who they are. Take a look. I hate to keep bringing this graphic up, but this is the reality. Does it feel like we've been down this road before? The total defense, 32nd overall. They're giving up 400 yards per game, Sarah. And the scoring defense, as we've already alluded to, 32 points per game. That is 31st league-wide. This is bottom of the barrel. And throughout 10 weeks, there were very similar graphics as it relates to the passing defense a year ago. And so as much as I sit here and say that we don't know who the defense is, through 3 weeks, it's kind of hard to not know who they are. Will they round out into form and improve to average rankings? Maybe. And if they do, ultimately, this offense has shown that it is capable of carrying them, even with an average defense. But man, right now, through 3 weeks, with the murderer's row that they're in the middle of right now with the beginning of this schedule, knowing that the next 3 weeks could dictate a lot moving forward for them. And I've seen people in the live chat, Sarah, you had the analytical percentages and whatnot of the division. I think a lot of people, just knowing what the AFC North consists of right now and how not scary Pittsburgh is and how banged up at the quarterback position Cincinnati is, and knowing that Cleveland, I'm sure at some point, will move to at least one of their rookies over the coming months. Like, winning the division isn't necessarily this like be all end all. Like, I think we all feel pretty comfortable the Ravens have a darn good chance, as the numbers show, of winning this division. It's what are they going to do for you after that in the postseason? And over the next 3 weeks, at Kansas City and home against Houston and the Rams leading into the bye week, it's not the be all end all if you go in 500 or below 500 of the bye week, because we know that there's a certain margin for error within this division, knowing what the circumstances that lie ahead there.
Right. Well, then the point of that first graphic is to show, like, as abysmal as it looked, why are they even close to even being that strong in the division? It's because of Lamar Jackson. It's not a slide to say, oh, guys, it's going to be okay. Like, don't be worried about what's going on. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to underscore how Lamar Jackson is carrying things, how even Vegas recognizes the phenomenal start that Lamar Jackson is off to. But to your point, and anybody that was like upset by that graphic, it's because there is something bigger going on. Like, we're specifically talking about how his phenomenal start through 3 weeks is being wasted. But rightfully so, there's many Ravens fans who feel like Lamar Jackson's prime years, plural, is being wasted. It's not just this phenomenal start, even though I think it's more blatant. It's kind of hitting you over the head. It's being recognized more by national media. Usually in the past, it's always only been local fans and people saying it. Well, now you're starting to hear national people say it. I'm going to play a couple of those clips in just a minute. Because at this point, yes, of course, that's the first goal, is to win the division. You need to do that. at bare minimum, if you win it, you know that you're going to get a home playoff game, the first round. And so, yeah, that's the first goal, but it's not the ultimate goal, which is why I didn't like when John Harbaugh said it's not Super Bowl or bust. It is Super Bowl or bust. That is the goal. It is Super Bowl, and jobs will be on the line. And that's why there is a bust carried along with that. And so it's going back to 2019 and feeling like that season was wasted. And you're like, okay, well, it was a fluke because they were so good. And you come back, and then Lamar's injured for 2 years, not while running, PS. And then you've got 2023 where you've got an AFC championship game at home, and you didn't look like yourself, and the game plan didn't look like your team. And so that was wasted. And then there's 2024 when you are so healthy. You're so healthy. How often you get to be that healthy? And then you get knocked out in the divisional round by the Bills. And so it does feel like, yeah, that's not hope. Oh, good, we're going to win the AFC North. It's like, no, Lamar is the reason for inspiring that. And the frustration is that it's not just being wasted these 3 weeks. It's been wasted, so many golden opportunities. And like I said, now the national media is also saying the same thing. I'll show 2 clips. Let's start with Kay Adams at Up and Adams. She has the same sentiment.
How do I put this nicely? I can't. Are we wasting some of the best quarterback play that we've ever seen? That's the question I have. Look at this. Lamar has been ridiculous first 3 weeks. An MVP, okay? League leading 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. None of this is on him. He's tied with 2007 Tom Brady for the highest passer rating for the first 3 starts of a season in NFL history. And somehow this team has a losing record, 1-2. It is unfathomable. The defense has been a big part of that. Defense ended last year. This was the #1 defense over the second half of last year. Why isn't that the case right now? But they've got this game against the Chiefs. Do not let these Chiefs get right against you. Do not. Then you're 1-3 on the other side of that, and then the Chiefs are back. That's what would happen if the Chiefs beat you this week. You can't do that.
Kay sees it, Bobby. She called it unfathomable to be wasting this away. Meanwhile, this slide right here, this tweet that I put out earlier today, guess who responded to that with the emojis of those yelling emojis? Did you see who responded to that?
I didn't.
Emmanuel Acho. Of all people. Emmanuel Acho, one of the MVP voters who, in my opinion, stole the MVP from Lamar Jackson last year, only because, like, if Acho had just come out and said, no, I just think that Josh Allen was better. If he just came out and said, hey, it was close, but I'm taking Josh Allen. But the reason why I use the word stole is because he voted Lamar Jackson as the all-pro at the QB position, the #1 all-pro QB. And then he told us on this show that Lamar was the best. So that's why I'm using the word stole. He used a stupid definition of MVP to steal it from him. So of all people, there it is. You see it now. Of all people, you even have Emmanuel Acho saying, hey, Ravens, you're wasting this phenomenal start. That made me go look up Emmanuel Acho to see if he said it on his own show. What do you know? Here's Emmanuel saying something very similar.
Ravens' objective is to win a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson's objective is to win a Super Bowl. So if it's not up to Super Bowl standard, it's got to be changed immediately. You cannot waste a year of Lamar Jackson's career, especially not 8 years in. So if this defense is not up to Lamar Jackson and Super Bowl standard, something's got to give. You feel me? And I'm not a proponent of people getting fired, but like Kieran said, if you're giving up 38 points, and the Lions called off the dogs to some degree, by the way, if you've given up 38 points to the Lions and 41 points to the Bills, teams you will see in the playoffs, you got too much talent for that. Something has to give.
Even Emmanuel saying it, Bobby. Even Emmanuel Acho is saying it. That's where we're at right now. That's the state of the Ravens, is just wasting away some phenomenal quarterback play.
Like what we talked about every time the John Harbaugh conversation comes up, Sarah, whether it was the offseason or after week 1 with the fourth quarter collapse, or just in recent years with the fourth quarter blown leads epidemic, so on and so forth. At some point, it's going to get not just noisy, but also pressure cookerish, if you will, for ownership to say like, hey, we know who we have and who we've had for 8 years running now, and this moment in time that we're in. And it is just a moment in time. Like, Lamar is in his prime. He won't be in this current phase of health, explosiveness. He'll always be great, as we know. And he'll, for the most part, have pieces around him. It'll become harder and harder to team build, as we know. If this next deal doesn't get done, it's going to definitely be harder and harder for DaCosta to team build, as the way this whole thing is backloaded with, with money for Lamar and whatnot. But this is a moment in time, and that seat's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter should they continue to underperform, knowing that he is universally recognized right now as the greatest quarterback today, and obviously chasing the Mahomes as the majority of this phase and this era of quarterbacks are when it comes to the hardware.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting later in the show, because I want to make a quick distinction here. When Derek comes on from All 22 film, we're going to look at, some of the things that were going on with Lamar. Am I correct? I think I'm understanding what he's going to be bringing to the show. I haven't seen it myself. Is he going to be looking at some of the sacks that were going on and how they contain Lamar?
Okay. What Detroit did on third down in particular.
Oh, third down. Will he go over the sacks? Probably. There's sacks on third down. So we talked about, basically what I'm getting at is we talked about how Lamar's clock didn't seem quite right on Monday against the Lions, and maybe he could have taken off or thrown a few balls away to not absorb those 7 sacks. So this isn't to say Lamar's perfect, but I want to make clear he's been phenomenal. But we will be able to dig in a little bit deeper versus about the offensive line and the blockers in general and Lamar of what could have been improved there. But even when we have that conversation, let's make it clear, 37 points per game should be a 3-0 record. It should be a 3-0 record. We'll dig in more to see how it can be improved, but let's make clear it's been phenomenal to start.
What other clips do you have from the national side of things?
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to wait. Why don't we do some super chats? I had one from Nick Wright just saying what I just said, but I think it'll be better when we dig into the film with Derek.
Yeah, fair enough. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Wellness Plus Care. And what do you know? We got another incentive and a perk for our VAULTRONs, and we're going to tell you about it in just a bit. But Wellness Plus Care, located in Hunt Valley, Maryland. It's a full-service clinic focused on hormone therapy, medical weight loss, skin rejuvenation, IV therapy, peptide therapy, and genetic testing. And we told you about one of the first perks within the last few weeks since we rolled out this partnership, and that is all VAULTRONs who call Wellness Plus Care, 410-202-3863. You can find more information on how to reach them at wellnesspluscare.com and a couple different places, show notes, live chat, you name it. You're going to get 20% off your first testosterone treatment if you are a VAULTRON and you let them know that exact sentiment on the phone. But again, there's a second one, and we want to say thanks to Brenda Boggs and her team. She is the owner and medical director of Wellness Plus Care. She's a family nurse practitioner with over 34 years of patient care experience. She's got an extensive clinical background. She's got also 10 plus years of experience in the wellness space, and further, of course, deepening her experience in hormone health and patient care. And so here is the newest update that we have available to some of you out there that maybe want to introduce yourself or take a look at her medically safe weight loss program. And what they do, Sarah, is basically draw up customized treatment plans. They realize that weight issues are complicated. There's no quick or short-term solution. So they're going to look at all the factors that contribute to weight issues, whether that be your social environment, genetics, nutrition, physical activity, stress, sleep, so on and so forth. So basically, on top of the testosterone treatment discount, you have the option of getting your first week on tirzepatide. I went and found that pronunciation, by the way. That's GLP-1. Tirzepatide, Sarah. First week, they're going to give VAULTRONs $40 just for your first week. That's the rate for tirzepatide to see if it's right for you. You can call Wellness Plus Care today, 410-202-3863. Again, this is all safe. This is really convenient to those of you that are in the Baltimore area, specifically in Hunt Valley. And as you can see right now, wellnesspluscare.com is up on the screen via our screen share tool. And if you want to learn more about what I just told you about, tirzepatide, GLP-1s, and their medical weight loss program, you can go on here, Sarah, this website, lots to choose from.
It's so important to like just know your own body, right? Because sometimes you'll just look at to see what works for somebody else versus you. Like, I mean, I just think about how, you merge two families in a marriage and you can see one set of genes and another set of genes, whether it's like with your weight or your skin type or your hormones or anything like that. Like I've just noticed in noticing my kids getting different genes from different places, and we all react differently to things. So being able to go in and get a discount like this to get something that is specific to your body, whether it's for your weight loss or the hormone levels and treatments there, I think that having that opportunity can be so useful in understanding your body and getting it to its tip-top shape. So what a great opportunity here.
And Brennan and her team, as you can see here, I'm just kind of scrolling through the medical weight loss program, and she does some Q&As. How do GLP-1s work? How do you take them? Are you a good fit? Are they safe? Side effects? I mean, she goes, no stone doesn't go.
Unturned.
Yes, exactly. Not one. And so there's a great breakdowns here. And again, just to kind of give you some context to the discount here, your cost for GLP-1, again, that's tirzepatide, is $235 a month for the standard dose. Brenda and her team are willing to give Vaultrons a week sample for $40
Wow.
just to see if it's a good fit for you. So thanks to her and her team. wellnesspluscare.com. You can go visit the show notes, live chat, or just simply go into your search bar, search engine, wellnesspluscare.com. It's great to be partnering up with them this football season. And as you suggested we do, let's get to some super chats. Pablo has become our newest channel member here inside the vault. Great to have you on board, Pablo. Eric Hill with a $100 donation to begin this Wednesday, Sarah. That's the red banner attached. It's for you.
Well, I was about to go on a rant about calling for people's jobs, but I am in a really, really good mood. So instead, in case no one tells you today that they love you, just know that I do. I will be starting my trip back to New York, so I won't be misbehaving too much today. Hashtag stop the 22. No, so he just decided to misbehave once and maybe start his travels.
My man he's got Worst Behavior by Drake on loop on
Woo!
Spotify. Eric, you are the man. Not only did he drop in a $100 super chat, not only, Sarah, did he hand deliver me energy drinks of his choice at the Be More Around Town tailgate on Monday night. Not only has he been ridiculously generous, gifting 4 tickets to Ravens Lions the other day, but on top of that and a whole lot more, he drops in a 50 spot of Channel Vaultrons. That's a mama meatloaf. That's a mama meatloaf. That's a mama meatloaf. And that's a mama meatloaf. Run it on this Wednesday. Let's go. Eric Hill, come on. You're the man. Thank you so much for your generous donations. I felt like I needed to do that because yesterday I was in the comfort of my friend's house in Canton and I just couldn't quite bring myself to do it. Appreciate
Love
you,
it.
DH.
So much meatloaf here inside the vault.
Whole lot of meatloaf.
Douglas A.
DHB
Brown
Senior.
Senior.
That's a whole lot of meatloaf. DHB Senior is for you.
He says DHB Senior is in the house, but not happy. Coaching, he says, is wasting Lamar's talent. Thankful for you two, though. We appreciate you too, DHB.
Meatloaf! Just making up for lost time yesterday. Oceans writes, I don't know if you guys know defensive schemes. I saw Orr like something called cover 6, hybrid of cover 2. I don't get why Orr likes play zone defenses only. We're going to get into some screenshots that get into a lot of that, Oceans, in just a bit. Sip the Tally, Coach Evans was highlighting them on Twitter yesterday. Park Heights Profit, Sarah, with a $20 super chat.
He's back to 20 instead of 19 and 1 cent. So I respect it. PHP sets. I'm glad he didn't go to 18 and 2 cents. That could have been That could have been fun or interesting throughout the rest of the year. But he says plenty of anger and blame to go around. All that matters is how they come out versus KC. This is me coming out. This is not PHP. This is a massive opportunity. Is there a better matchup the Ravens could have to redeem themselves? I don't know if they can, but the opportunity is right in front of them to make themselves and this fan base feel so much better about themselves. And I understand that KNC is 1-2 themselves right now, but it doesn't matter. We know the history. We know it's Patrick Mahomes. Being able to beat them would be massive, which is why PHP, I'll get back to him now, quote, he says, all that matters is how they come out versus KC. Adversity comes calling for everyone, but only a few can answer the right way. Am I angry? Sure. Do I still believe? Yes. LFG, #ready for Santa Clara.
No Rashee Rice coming up on Sunday. We'll see if Xavier Worthy can go for them. Speedster, second-year wide receiver out of Texas. They're 18th against the run as a defense. They are more vulnerable than ever. We had Mitchell Schwartz on the collective last night, who won a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought he had some interesting things to say about how vulnerable they are right now. But none of that might matter if the Ravens don't come out and get back to bully ball coming up on Sunday. I encourage everybody to go check out that interview. Cole Jackson, great book to get Mitch on the show last night. Ray Dog We Trust writes, being a Ravens fan is like owning a Bugatti that only starts 50% of the time. And when the engine dies at a stoplight, instead of taking it to the Bugatti dealer, Harbaugh pulls into Firestone. Ray Dog. Captain Hard with a super chat.
The analogies. Captain Hard says, is Zach Orr really going to bench players for being repeat offenders? Because if not, it was all talk and he can't be taken seriously as a coach. I mean, some places, how do you even bench people? Who, like, if Nnamdi Madubuike is injured, you got John Jenkins coming in. Who's coming up after John Jenkins? Who's the practice squad? Defensive tackle. Everybody liked it. I think somebody brought it up in the super chat yesterday.
CJ? Okoye?
Look at you.
Did somebody bring that up yesterday?
You might have been gone.
Oh, yeah. Well, he had a good summer, so.
Still, I don't feel like
No.
he's going to rescue this rush defense.
All due respect. But Keyshawn Meekins. Keyshawn? Let me know. I saw the graphic of the Seahawks not allowing a rushing touchdown yet this season, and I almost crashed out because I see our defense get walked down too often. Letting Mike Mack walk will always hurt. And I saw some graphics going around, Sarah, of a two-sheeter, if you will. On the left was Mike Mack. On the right was Kevin Zeitler. And people are like, I can't believe the Ravens let both of those guys walk as they did in recent years. Barry Hayes with a super chat. What's going on, Barry?
Barry says, I'll be at this KC game. It's 4 hours away. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. Not trying to see a loss. I hear you, Barry.
Barry, enjoy it. Place is going to be electric. Arrowhead always is. Bryce Smith says, on to the next, hoping something flips this defense and the coaching has some accountability. Right now, I got the memory of Dory. Okay, a Finding Nemo reference from Bryce Smith. You got to love it. Captain Hard with another super chat today.
He says, not only can they get back on track record-wise, but beating the Chiefs would get them back on track mentally. Yes, indeed.
Park Heights Prophet says, S. Didn't want to do #18-2, so let's instead #flip the script.
I like it.
There you go. Fully caught up on super chats on this Wednesday, which brings us to a little bit of a time conflict right now. What do we do with our 5 minutes before we bring on Derek?
Let's go through some of these screen grabs. Do you think?
You tell me.
Let's go ahead. Okay, why don't you do your Chris Long stuff and Chris Sims? How about that? How about Chris Sims, bully ball?
Okay. Yeah. So Chris had a few things to say, not just about the defense, but overall about what he watched. And it's all about physicality or lack thereof. I'll let him speak to you. Here he is.
I had a baseline statement to make that to me was the hallmark of the game, where I was just like, wow, it is clearly that the Baltimore Ravens got bullied on their home field,
right?
Like big time, and to the point to where I don't mean to say this in like a disrespectful way, but are they fake bullies, the Ravens, a little bit? I don't know. It's just every big game, it gets a little physical. I feel like, they don't quite answer the bell. I don't see them just put themselves out there in crazy physical ways,
right?
Like we've seen the Eagles be, or I've seen the Rams be, or I've seen the Chiefs be, or I saw the 49ers be every week, especially when they were a Super Bowl caliber team. There was a recklessness in how they played on both sides of the ball where you were just like, whoa, they're hitting. Like they're bringing it. And I'm not trying to say the Ravens are soft. I'm not saying that at all, because I don't want to hear that. I know I'm going to hear this from Ravens fans in general, but I'm just going to say that I think it needs to maybe go up another level. Like I can remember a lot of times in NFL history, and I'll take my dad, for instance, 1985, the year before they win the Super Bowl in 86, they played the Bears in the divisional playoff game. They really, it was a day, the Bears were a little sloppy. The Giants probably could have, in America's game, Bill Parcells is like, if we played them 10 times, we would have lost 9. But that day was one of the days we could have done it.
Right.
But I'll never forget my dad after that, and even and telling stories as I got older, they realized, the Giants, that they weren't quite as crazy physical as they needed to be a Super Bowl team, right? And that went into the next year, and then, of course, they got over the hump and win the Super Bowl. But I think there's a little bit of that with me, the Ravens, and I think they've got a lesson there last night to go, hey, you're tough and you're physical, but you're not there with the Detroit Lions, who really dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball pretty much the whole game.
Sarah, they don't have years to figure out, first and foremost, whether or not or how to bring up that once physicality, tenacity that was labeled to the Ravens. They have a short amount of time to figure that out if they want to salvage this season. But some interesting points there about the bully ball or lack thereof that the Ravens just don't bring to the table, at least haven't through 3 weeks.
I joked earlier this week that I almost missed the days of just busted coverages, because that's something that's okay, we fix the communication, we fix assignments and all of that, it's fixable, right? Physicality, it's just play harder, play tougher. It's so fundamental. That's 101 and then I thought it was interesting that he was trying to not tick off Ravens fans. He's like, I don't want to be disrespectful. It's not fake. I'm not calling him soft. It's just kind of fake bullies or whatever. And I'm like, Chris, right now, I think the fans would be loving what you're saying right now. They're on the same page. And quite frankly, even if Marlon Humphrey would be right there, he'd be like, yeah, fake bullies. That's a good one. We don't scare anyone. So he was kind of protecting himself. But I'm like, I think most people are on the same page with you on this one. It's really shocking. It's shocking. You're used to saying, hey, they only beat themselves. You're used to last year, okay, they had a busted coverage. Now it's oh man, the identity is gone. The physicality is gone. Where did it go for 1 week? Can we get it back?
I think another guy who would probably agree is our next guest. And that is Derek Coleman from All 22 Ravens Film Analysis. Sarah, I don't know how long it's been that our live chat has been calling for Derek to get inside the vault. And we figured, why not? Absolutely. Come on. We use his stuff from time to time. We both watch him from time to time. He has been in this space for a long time. He has a background in both youth football coaching and also high school coaching as well. And he has brought all that expertise and more to build a YouTube channel north of 40,000 subscriptions in recent years. We are thrilled to welcome in Coach Coleman. Let's say that. Coach, let's bring you in here and bless us today with what I know you have prepared. And that is some film study on not only Monday night, but how they contained Lamar Jackson, particularly on third down. And before you set all of that up, it's great to finally bring you inside the vault. This is my co-host, Sarah. Of course, I know you guys are probably familiar with one another from a virtual standpoint, but man, it's great to have you on.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. I thought, since I didn't show my face on my channel for a long time, I thought there was maybe something wrong with my voice, and you guys just didn't want to hear it. I'm just joking. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's fun to experience, different avenues of the Ravens film community and the Ravens analysis. It's a very diverse community, in my opinion. I've had some experience with Lions and Seahawks fan bases, and the Ravens is a wider net. It's a wider umbrella, and I think that at the same time they also cover a tremendous amount of depth. There's just more people that do what you guys do and what I try to do as well for the Ravens than there are in a lot of other fan bases. It's very akin to like the Cowboys or the 49ers, if you ask me.
Sure.
It's great to hear how you've had that different experience with different fan bases. And yeah, Coach, I'm definitely happy to finally meet you. And I feel like you and a couple of other film study channels that we are blessed to have is really educational. So we're happy to actually bring that inside the vault and have you kind of take us through what do you have for us today?
Thanks. Well, there's so many things to cover, and when Bobby reached out to me, we were trying to figure out, okay, should it be a recurring segment each week, the same topic, the same focus? And this was one of the things that I thought was the most unique from this game, because teams have tried this before, but the Lions had their own spin on it. So if this works out for you guys, then great, but I don't think every team is going to do this week and have this much success, to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
So the way that this has worked, first of all, hopefully the screen is okay for you guys. I recognize this font is probably really small. I've contacted the company that I use to ask them, is there any way I can increase that size? It's a second quarter play. It's a 3rd and 6. So we're going to focus on how the Lions did what I call a 3+1 QB spy. And they were able to do that for multiple reasons, one of which is they're willing to play man-to-man on tight ends with one of their inside linebackers, Alex Anzalone. We couldn't do that, and we wouldn't want to do that. This actually is not a 3+1 QB spy, but I felt like I had to show this to be kind of foundational. So it's a mug look. Obviously, you've got a lot of guys up here to blitz, and this is one of the first 3rd and mediums in the game. And lo and behold, the Lions actually bring all of these guys. Lamar, the only real route that he's got available is Tylan Wallace. I'm talking about an intermediate route, with the line to gain being like the plus 41. I didn't make a straight line there, but you get the idea, right? I don't feel like Zay's route or I think this is Bateman up top. I don't feel like either one of those routes is really making it available. And I think Ravens fans have been accurate with their complaints that so many of our routes were deeper down the field, in this case, deeper than we needed. Now, Lamar made it work, right? They brought all that pressure. This is somewhat similar to what the Dolphins did in 2021 in the Thursday night playoff game, or Thursday night game, excuse me. And the first time that we see this, Lions are bringing everybody. I think they're installing this reaction in our minds, the threat of this, if you will. Like the first time that a combat sports guy in boxing or MMA gets hit with a particular jab or a particular strike, now the feint, pump fake, if you will, to use a basketball analogy, elicits a big reaction. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So this is just one more run through of that one. This is not the QB spy. Like I said, I feel like the offensive line did a pretty good job here. Of creating a wall.
Holy moly.
I think they've got a mistake here in the way that Robertson and Hutchinson get this done. But one thing I want to say, and I've heard this from many people complaining about Lamar and various things, like he's moving around too much in the pocket. His footwork was bad Monday night. The all-22 angle versus the end zone angle can kind of make you understand things a little bit better. I had that reaction a couple of times from the all-22. I was like, why are his feet moving so much? Well, Alex Anzalone is driving Justice Hill, right back in his face. So he's got to move, right? He's got to get out of there when his space has been threatened. It's a great look at this throw, man. I mean, Amik Robertson is in his face, elevating, and Lamar still gets the throw over top of him. I love the end zone angle for a lot of reasons. Again, this is not the QB spy plus or the 3+1 QB spy, but I'm using this to establish the difference in how Detroit played some of these 3rd and mediums. All right. So let's get to what I'm talking about with the 3+1. This, again, if the font is too small for you guys that are watching, not you guys, but the listeners, it's 5th possession, so a 3rd and 6. All of this is going to be like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. And the target here is going to be Zay Flowers. This is successful for us against this coverage. But when I say two-man, here's what I mean. Man coverage on all of these orange lines here, and they're showing it to us, okay? And the key element here, again, for me, is that they're willing to do this with an inside linebacker, Alex Anzalone. So what that does is it preserves their two safeties back here to react to the first crosser, the first in cut. That's one of the differences with Detroit's coverage structure versus the Ravens is they'll let a safety like Brian Branch go ahead and take this first crosser. Oops, sorry, wrong tool. They'll let Brian Branch take this first crosser, and that's what happened. Zay, if you remember this, he takes a pretty big hit from Flowers on this one from Branch, Branch hits like a linebacker. I don't know about you guys watching it live. I thought we might not have got that.
Oh, for the first down marker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does look a little bit shy from this angle.
Yeah. So if you recall, this is the first drive of the third quarter where we go down and take a 21-14 lead. But what I want to illustrate a little bit is the difference in how they allow their guys to react. And I'm not saying it's superior, but this is just the difference in their defense and the way they were playing it. So because the safeties were able to react to the routes, they can do stuff like they're doing here. So this is a spy on Lamar. And then I'll let this flow a little bit and try to keep you guys eyes focused on the man who's guarding Justice Hill. But they muddied it up. When I say they muddied it up, it doesn't look like a three-man rush, right?
Right.
But it is.
Looked like it
Barnes
was
is a spy. Sorry. Go ahead, Sarah. Sorry.
No, I got you. I did. It looked like it was going to be a 5-man rush, and it turned into a 3.
What becomes interesting the more I watched it, and it took me a while to figure it out, probably till late Tuesday afternoon. I'm sure the Ravens coaches figured it out middle of the third quarter. That's how intelligent those guys are. They're funneling Lamar. It didn't happen on this play. The DNs are on hard-coded outside rushes. And what they're trying to do, they probably studied hours of Lamar's film, is they're predetermining his escape path. They're forcing him to step up directly into the spy. Well, actually, that's not the spy. Sorry. The spy is Derek Barnes right there. It didn't work out that way here, right? But we all know it did later on in the game. And I think through some other illustrations, you guys will see it. It's successful for the Ravens there. I wish we could have got the ball to Flowers and Bateman more. So let's look at one that was not successful, okay? And I think I'll give you the end zone angle. Go ahead.
What do you mean, the terminology hard-coded? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so here's the same look, a different play, excuse me. Let me get the down and distance here. I think it's 3rd and 7. Yeah, again, the text is probably, the font is probably too small for your watchers, but it's a 3rd and 7. So let's do the end zone angle first so I can kind of answer your question. We're talking about these two rushes here, Hutchinson and Muhammad. So, like, for example, with Mike Green in week 1 against the Bills, he had hard-coded outside rushes, meaning he didn't have the option on a lot of his rush pass to go to the inside. He was a hard-coded outside rush because we're playing Josh Allen, right? He's a super athletic and mobile quarterback. So by them rushing to the outside, they believed in their planning that Lamar wasn't going to be able to escape outside here, right? I happen to have the perfect play queued up to answer your question and kind of illustrate that. And look, if we see this again, if we see this weekend, it may not work, right? It may not work. But the point is, the guys that were running the spy for the Lions, they were, first of all, hyper-focused on the target, right, Lamar, and they were not retreating at all. They knew it was predetermined that Lamar was going to have to escape underneath in some form or fashion. And all they had to do was fit it. They may not make the tackle, but I guess what I would say is, and I've said this on my channel a little bit in the last couple of days, is the Lions had a plan for the coverage and they had a plan for the scramble. The level of preparation, if you ask me, that we saw, that we could observe and try to interpret, in my opinion, on the Lions side, was far superior than the Ravens side. It brings me no joy to point that out in that way. Let's do the all 22 angle so you guys can see just one more look, and then we'll flow through some examples. How many times have you seen Lamar Jackson get tackled for no gain 3 plays in a row? The Lions did that in this game, and 2 of them were on this QB spy concept. Same play, all 22 angle. So Zay's route seems to be a little bit long developing to me. But in any case, I think he's trying to pull this back to the sideline. Bateman's route is a drag from the top side, so it's an underneath. And just watch how the Lions. Sorry about that. Watch how the Lions release this. So we're talking about Bateman's route underneath. Branch is driving on it. Very similar to what I talked about with the previous play, right, where Zay converted it barely, and Branch was able to drive on it. They let their safeties play the first down breaking route. Now, it's a little bit more simple system defensively. I'm not saying it's superior. But the Lions, that's what they do. That's what they've done for the last couple of years. But you get a really good idea of how they're trying to funnel Lamar to the spy. get some of those graphics out of the way, of how they're trying to funnel Lamar into the spy, right? By the hard-coded rush, outside rush from the defensive ends to push him into the middle. Think like a war strategy, right? We want to funnel your reaction to a certain part of the field, of the area, of the land that we know we've got the advantage in. If they do it again, if we see them again, it's going to be in the Super Bowl. It'd be great, right? But that would mean that I think the Ravens would have to have a plan for this technique, and it may involve, some more designed runs for Lamar when they present this type of look. All this making sense?
Yeah. So do you feel like one of the questions I had was, I was thinking back to the Eagles game and how his mom had to tell Lamar to run more. Is that spy taking away the run for Lamar?
I mean, that's the idea, from a Lions perspective. That's the intention, is that when we see Lamar scramble, if I don't get to the point of your question, feel free to let me know. When we see Lamar scramble, let's use all the different colors that I've got here. It's only 4. He could scramble out this way, right? He could scramble and end up going up the middle of the field. He could scramble and end up way over here. There's all these different possibilities, right? What the Lions did conceptually, to me, is look at the history of Lamar's scrambles and say, okay, we're not going to be able to deal with that. And they wouldn't. So let's predetermine every single time that it's 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7, or at least when we use this concept. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out for him. Do I think it'll work out in every iteration? No, I don't. I'm still a little surprised that we had so much trouble with it. But they had a plan for the escape path, in my opinion. This is where the fourth quarter is where it seemed to have a bigger impact to me, in terms of getting to Lamar. The Lions are up 7 here. Again, they're, kind of threatening as a heavy rush, but you got 2 safeties deep. So it's kind of like, how are they simultaneously able to put so many guys in the box but keep 2 safeties deep? In my opinion, it all is related to their willingness to put Alex Anzalone on Mark Andrews. Do we think that Mark Andrews would scald him if given 10 or 12 targets? Absolutely. Absolutely. He beat him with the touchdown on 3rd down to take a 21-14 lead, maybe, is when that occurred, 3rd quarter. But the Lions are willing to deal with that, and that's what they've done for the last couple of years under Aaron Glenn and now under Kelvin Shepard. So as this play kind of flows through, it actually doesn't work out for the Lions. Brian Branch ends up taking, again, the first crosser, like we've shown twice before. So he ends up taking Tylan Wallace's little under route, I guess, and then the over beats him. Credit to Lamar for seeing it. There's, the pocket is – EA and I just talked about this play earlier this morning, and EA, it was funny. He said, I feel like we've done a pretty good job in pass pro there, but when you watch it again, you're like, well, there's a guy at Lamar's feet, DJ Reader, and then Aiden Hutchinson making contact with it. I feel like we're to the point sometimes with the Ravens offensive line where we're accepting we're doing the same thing John Harbaugh's doing. We're accepting a lower standard of play from our offensive line because of what we've been conditioned to see consistently. I hope you don't mind me saying it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So Barnes is the spy. This is the same play. Like I said, it's the 4th quarter. We're down 7. It's a 3+1. And so what I mean by that is you've got 3 rushers, 2 of which are hard-coded. Let me get rid of that one. Sorry. So Hutchinson, outside rush, and I think he's anticipating or seeing Justice Hill as a possible chipper. So, clearly Hutchinson goes to the inside, but then we're not finished yet. He spins back to the outside. So when I say hard-coded, what I mean is they've told him on this particular concept, we need you to go on an outside rush path, because what do they not want? They don't want Lamar going in any of 3 or 4 or 5 different directions. They want it predetermined for Barnes, who you kind of can't see because he's behind the floating camera.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's a big completion from Lamar, but I think it's just another layer of planning that they displayed during the game. Again, Jack Campbell's on Justice Hill. I recognize there's probably going to be some people say, that's not a 3-man rush, coach. Well, this guy's in man on Andrews. This guy, Campbell, is in man on Hill. And when we flow it through, you'll see Campbell go with Justice Hill. And then the final part of that, the math at least, is 1, 2, 3 rushers, and then there's Barnes. Like I said, it took me till about Tuesday afternoon around 2 o'clock to kind of figure it out. That's the difference, right? The NFL guys will probably figure that out second possession. But even having said that, I didn't think we had a great plan for it later in the game. Any questions before we do the last 2?
No, go ahead. I'll save my question for the end.
So another one here, and this is after what I thought was a really poor play call. This is, again, we're down 7. If you recall, we end up kicking a field goal, right, 28-24. Lamar gets pretty pissed off after the third down sack here or tackle. He kind of slams the football. But the play before this was QB draw. I did not like that call at all here. With all the weapons we have, this is not 2020. It's not 2022. We don't have to run QB draw in the same place we've run QB draw so many times before, the high red zone between like the 15 and the 18. But in any case, this is 2nd and 9, so I'm getting away with one a little bit by including this. But the Lions using the same coverage. Anzalone, the reason why I have him in a different color here, he's man on Andrews, and what does that do? It frees up the safeties to be in a 2-man alignment. 2-man should not work against a scrambling quarterback. It should not. But the Lions made it work, at least in my experience. I've seen this at the high school level, but this to me is a really great job of predetermining something and maybe playing a game within a game that most fans, myself included, didn't understand watching live. We wouldn't have any idea about it until the All-22 and the end zone comes out. I feel like if we had it to do over again, I want us to come down here a lot. I don't mean the specific play. I mean Bateman versus Arnold. That to me looks like a place on the field. We could attack, force him to make plays on the ball. He had a lot of DPIs and penalties last year. But here's the predetermined rush path again. DN getting upfield. DN Muhammad getting upfield. Ravens fans aren't going to, like this. But, man, Muhammad's a great story. Guys bounced around the league. Got cut from the Cowboys last year. He had 2.5 sacks. None of the sacks that Muhammad had were, they weren't organic wins. He didn't just beat us. They were activity sacks, what some people refer to as a coverage sack, right? Last one, I guess, and then if you guys are running out of time, we'll go through any questions. But let's do the end zone angle so you can see what I mean. Here's the spy, and the cool thing, EA pointed this out this morning, it wasn't the same player, the same number doing the spy technique every time. It wasn't always Barnes. It wasn't always Campbell. In this case, it's Nowaski, another very underrated guy. I felt like the linebackers that are probably underrated and unknown, really elevated their play for the Lions. And a lot of it was on this concept. And to me, it's because my guess is they probably repped this 100 times with Malik Cunningham as Lamar Jackson. This particular instance means they were trying to remove Lamar's ability to scramble on 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 7, make us beat them with the pass. And, we weren't able to do it, even though Lamar's stats were great. Nowaski, we know what happens here. Why is he so confident? Because he knows where Lamar is going. There's no way, if Muhammad does his job and Hutchinson does his job, that Lamar ends up, outside the bottom of the numbers. Last point, and then I'll take questions if you guys got them or any of the listeners, is I suspect that the Lions looked at the film of some of our guards in these situations where they have no work. Yeah, this looks like a huge lane for Lamar. And it normally is, but when it's predetermined, when you as a human being, especially a high-level athlete, know, okay, my work right now, even though the field is 53 1/3 yards wide, my work on the field is this 4-yard, width part of the field that I have to handle, even though it's Lamar Jackson. And they did it. It surprises me a little bit that it worked out so much. But in my opinion, they practiced this as a 15-minute segment on Wednesday. Maybe it didn't work out so well. A 15-minute segment on Thursday, a 15-minute segment on Friday, interchanging the linebackers, interchanging the spy, and it all worked out. I think it's just an illustration of what I understand, at least, of how the level of preparation for the Lions, it just exceeded Baltimore's for this game. I hope you guys don't mind me saying it, but it's just a reality, in my opinion.
Well, it's interesting just on this topic of Cunningham. I read this yesterday, Bobby, after you had to go. Dan Campbell, Lions head coach, said that Malik was huge. He said on Wednesday we had Malik run at quarterback and he had a big day at practice. He had a big day. It opens your eyes a little bit. You coach it up. You tweak a couple of things. So their defensive coordinator came back on Thursday and it's better, but we're still like, man, this guy's running around and we can't get him contained. Then by Friday, you're pretty good. So according to Dan Campbell, Malik Cunningham was helpful for them to figure out these concepts and really had it, like you said, it was hardwired and they were predetermining where they wanted him to scramble because they had a plan for those specific areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what I suspect. I mean, that's what I think. I concluded, and this is just one element of the game. What percentage of the game would you say that this specific dynamic is? Like 3% maybe. So there's all these variables and all these things. And when you have, with Lamar being so athletic and so confident, I think that the Lions spent time looking at scrambles and okay, man, if we let him go, if we let haphazard things occur, he's a better athlete than us. That's this reality. He is. But if you predetermine it and you put him in this box in terms of his reaction, his escape path, then we've got a better chance. If this happens again this week against the Chiefs, I don't think the Chiefs need to. I don't think the Chiefs need to do this. They're going to let their pass rushers, set up on our right side, and they're going to come after us. So it's a different plan. And from a Lions perspective, they're not going to use this technique this week against Cleveland. They're playing Joe Flacco. They don't need it. So that 45 minutes that they needed, and that, they didn't use all the defensive linemen for that period. They only really needed certain guys. They probably needed 10 or 12 guys total during those time segments. So everybody else on the team is doing something else. Just, I think they out-prepared us. And I think it showed in the biggest moments, the third downs, the fourth downs, when they were able to execute and we were not.
Coach, you referenced that Thursday night game, and we'll let you go on this. The Thursday night game several years ago against the Dolphins when they zero blitzed the what out of Lamar and the Ravens, and they had very, very few answers that night. Then, of course, the copycat league component comes into play, and they had to find an answer, and they did. Mm-hmm. To your point, who knows what other team? I mean, they may not see this type of strategy deployed until
right.
Well, we'll see if they end up meeting this team again in February. But you know what I mean? The next time they do see this, assuming that a team can execute it the way Detroit did successfully, what's the counter? When you put that into layman's terms, the quick hitter counter of how you respond to this, unlike they did on Monday night, what is it in your mind?
I mean, there's a part of me that thinks that I think that Sarah kind of formed it as a question earlier with Lamar's mom mentioned to him, hey, you've got to run. Part of me thinks, like, in these situations, first, he doesn't know what the coverage is, obviously, but there's, now that we've seen it, there's ways that we can look at it. But credit the Lions for, kind of like that, I forget what the game is called, where you hide something under three cups and then you shuffle the cups. That's kind of what the Lions were doing with the spy, right? There's three guys there who could be the spy: Barnes, Nowatzki, Campbell, even Anzalone. So I do wonder if part of it is Lamar, we think we get this. Put your foot in the ground and go. Widen that space, widen that path for the guy to deal with, because they're playing man. So from a route concept standpoint, we know we can get the safety to go with the first crosser, right? So my thought would be, just the first answer, catching me off guard, would be, let's run the route across the field and then clear out the right side, wide side, let's say, clear out the right side for Lamar, because we know that safety is going to run with him. And now all you got to do is outrun Nowatzki, outrun Barnes, outruns Anzalone, which you can do 99 times out of 100. Detroit fans are, if they listen to this, hopefully they do, and get you guys, a lot of engagement. Detroit fans wouldn't like me saying that Lamar would outrun the guy 99 times out of 100 because he got sacked 7 times on Monday night. But I think it was a very specific set of circumstances that Detroit created and controlled to put us in that situation. So I think they deserve credit. That would just be one of the answers I would think of.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, this is my last one, because you started off, when you opened this whole segment, you felt confident that it couldn't be replicated. Is that A, because you think the Ravens could easily find an answer like the one you just gave, and B, that maybe other teams don't have the personnel to do this?
Most teams, when they're playing two-man, is going to be a four-man rush. Everything from a pass rush standpoint in the NFL is, I would say, quite vanilla to me. You can look at it from the end zone angle and you can see, okay, it's a four-man rush, there's no stunt. Oh, it's a four-man rush and there's a stunt on one side, meaning the D end and the D tackle cross. Oh, it's a five-man stunt and they're doing this stunt that everybody runs, right? Certain teams are not going to be willing to remove one of those four pass rushers. I think this was a creative solution by the Lions in a very specific circumstance or situation. 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. I think there was one more I had to show, but I don't want to do it. But I believe all of these fit in 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7, except for the last one that I just showed was, which was a 2nd and 9 where Nowatzki sacks him. So I think that it's a rarely used umbrella, rarely used concept, globally. And so maybe teams won't go to it. So I don't think it's suddenly going to show up 35 times next week. You also have to say we wouldn't be in so many 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7s if we were able to run the ball a little bit more successfully, which kind of goes back to the O-line thing. We're not here to talk about that, I know, but that is a dynamic that I think exists for this team. We are, if I saw it correctly this morning, in terms of 3rd down average yards to go, I think we're 8.4 is our average yards to go on 3rd down so far through 3 games. And I think that's 29th or 30th in the league. So there is something to say there for what Baltimore is able to do consistently. I think Ken at Film Study Ravens has been talking about it, that we seem to be like a modern baseball player. We're either going to hit a home run or we're going to strike out. So we're either going to make a big play or we're going to have to punt.
Derek, this was awesome. Thank you so much. We kept you longer than we had planned, so thank you for your generosity. We've got your YouTube channel up on here, guys. Highly encourage you to go subscribe, even join as a channel member, become a patron there to allow Derek to continue to bring this kind of content not only to the Vault, as you'll be doing semi-regularly throughout the rest of this season, but on a daily basis within this channel. It's all 22 films. And Coach, please promote anything else that you've got coming up, maybe study-wise, as you get ready for week 4.
It's always tough when the team loses because if you don't go out there and you aren't critical of the coaching staff or whatever failed, then you're just not going to get engagement. You're just not. So I struggle with that because when I don't think that Harbaugh or Zach Orr or Monken deserves any level of criticism, I'm not going to do so. I've got an Irish-Scotch background in my blood, and so there is some positives and negatives to that. And unfortunately, I'm just going to tell you what I think, and I really don't care how it affects you. But this week, I am more than willing to be the person to criticize because I think we certainly got out physical, like Chris Sims said, when I was before I was got in. That's true. I think we got outplayed. That's absolutely true. But we also got out prepared, in my opinion, and that bothers me the most because this is the second year in a row where we can say that early in the season, definitely on defense, but maybe on both sides of the ball. That bothers me because it's their full-time job to go out there and put the best product out, and they got beat. They didn't just get beat Monday night by the Lions. I felt they got beat the preceding week as well with preparation.
We appreciate you calling a spade, Coach, and we look forward to doing this again, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate the invite.
It, Coach.
Absolutely. And I already see folks in the live chat acknowledging that they got Coach got a new follower, or a new subscriber, or a new fan. And man, we hope that's the case, because if you don't already, and look, 40,000 plus already do, Sarah, let's be clear. 41,000 plus subscriptions right now on the All 22 Films Ravens YouTube channel. Man, that was fantastic and a heck of a study.
Woo. Well, that is really interesting because I was like, why are you so confident that other teams won't do this? He's right. How many teams do you see, unless you're like at the end of the game in some sort of prevent defense, where it's like 3rd and 7, you're only going to rush 3 and you're going to sacrifice one of those guys to be this spy? And part of it is like you do have like Aiden Hutchinson, another guy who had such great lane integrity to take those outside lanes and try to funnel them right into that spy, and or a great safety like Branch was there. And so him saying having those crosser routes and then rely on Lamar to just run and beat that spy, whichever the 3 they were using. But and I liked what he said at the end there. He's like, I don't care if you care how my analysis is, but I'm going to call it as I do. And he'll oftentimes not call out coaches, but it's the reason why we're calling out coaches a little bit more this season. We've always been like, hey, you guys love the coach too much, call him out. It's like, no, we have here and there, but now it's just like overwhelmingly in your face. And he can say, he's like, I'm surprised we didn't have a better plan for it. We didn't have a better response, because for him, he found it, but these guys are professionals and played millions to find it much sooner within the game.
Let's be clear too. This was a masterclass, not only execution wise by Detroit, but the amount of preparation that went into that. I mean, that was just a snippet right there of what they accomplished on Monday night. And keep in mind, not to toot Detroit's horn, I know it's still 48 hours removed yet from this loss. You guys are still processing it. They lost both their coordinators, Dan Campbell did, this past offseason. The head coaching opportunities.
Yeah.
So this was an impressive masterclass, as it was that we just got over the last 20 plus minutes he gave us from Coach Derek Coleman, all 22 Ravens film analysis. Great stuff. Okay, over 3,300 concurrents at the moment. We've got a ton of super chats. We've got a lot of content, and you have to leave in 15 minutes. We'll get the super chats in just a bit. How about that? And let's make sure we get back to some Zach Orr criticisms here that's been going on in the social sphere. You've got that queued up in just a second. Over 3,300 concurrents. Today is brought to you by our friends at Wellness Plus Care. Thank you guys for being here. If you have comments, commentary, thoughts, suggestions, hit them in via super chat. I'll get to as many as we possibly can in the next 20 minutes or so. If you could on the way in, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. Partner, what do you got for us on the defensive coordinator side of things?
Well, it seems like we're going to go ahead and keep up this like film analysis kind of thing going on. That being said, I'm no Coach Derek, okay? I'm no all 22, but I was impressed by some of the screen grabs and a couple of all 22 looks we got from another Ravens film study channel, Stip to Tally. Coach Evans put up some stuff on Twitter that I thought was very enlightening on the defensive side to kind of complement what Coach just did on the offensive side. And to kind of set this up, since we're moving to the defensive side, let's just look at some of this historic stuff here. This is an historic in a bad way, in the worst way possible. Okay, the Ravens 96 points that they've given up so far this season, as we've said, they're the number 31 defense when it comes to points per game. It's the second worst. But those 96 points that they've given up, that's the most they've given up in the first three games in the franchise's 30-year history. That's how bad it is. We are historically bad on defense right now. Entering this season, Baltimore was 96-10. That's a 90% win percentage since 2000 when the Ravens have scored 30 or more points. It's insane. It's historically bad. So what are some things? I agree with Coach. I'm going to get to some of like the out physical stuff, and the players just sometimes got to make tackles and all that. But let's look specifically at some of these things that Coach Evans pointed out. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it better. So Coach Evans puts up just this screen grab. We're not going to run through the whole film. But he says, what's wrong with this picture even before the play starts? Bobby, for the audio only people, this play right here, the Detroit Lions have the ball just inside the 5-yard line ready to score. Okay, they are ready to score 5 yards out. And look at the personnel package here. Zach Orr has Marlon Humphrey at the inside linebacker position next to Roquan Smith. Okay, this is like, what? Meanwhile, where you'd think Buchanan would be there, Buchanan is out ready to drop in coverage against the Lions wide receiver. Marlon Humphrey's the guy who's going to have to fill a gap if there's a run right up the middle in this goal line situation. Meanwhile, you've got a super light box. And it's just like, how are you even putting guys in position to win here? Why wouldn't you have Marlon Humphrey ready to defend this wide receiver and just flip the two? And again, the box is light. That's just one. It's just one that you're like, I don't understand. You don't understand what Zach Orr is doing. How about this? Now they're really on the goal line. This is at basically the 1-yard line. And he's got on a personnel package as if they're getting ready to pass again. Look at the light personnel package he's got up there. He's got at nose tackle that who's 96? Remind me who 96 is. Is that Travis Jones?
He's 98. I think that's Brody.
Oh, so you got Washington there. Okay, that's good. But how about you put in John Jenkins next to him? How about a big body like that? Instead, it's Tavius Robinson to his left. And then let me look to his right here. That's a 98 there, is that? So that one's Travis
Jones. Yeah.
That one's Travis Jones. And it's like, but you've got all these light guys to the side. Like, let's bring in as big and as hefty guys as you can. Where's John Jenkins? Okay, how about another one that Coach Evans has here? People have pointed this out before. You've got 90 Ojabo. He didn't have that many snaps, but when he does come in, you've got him as the off-ball inside linebacker. He's about ready to go ahead and sit back in coverage. Is that what we're going to do? Is that what we're going to do here? And then look at Stark's way up there. It's like it's not even putting them in a position to succeed. So then once you actually do, check this out. Coach Evans shows, so this one is going to be more on the player, not so much Zach Orr. You've got Travis Jones doing what he's supposed to do. He's drawing the double team. Coach Evans is begging Roquan Smith to fill in because now he should have a direct angle, completely clean. You want defensive tackles, you want nose tackles that are going to be able to absorb the double team. But Roquan Smith just doesn't take advantage soon enough. And then this is where one of the plays does come in, where Roquan Smith is just waiting. Check out this film. Here's film on this. You've got Roquan there. Here comes the run. Where was Roquan? That's Roquan's lane. He's just waiting. Look, he's sitting behind the double team. Sitting behind it, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's nervous about a play action. That's the only thing I can think of. But now you've got number 0 going right up in the lane where Roquan could have filled because a double team was had on the defensive tackle. And he gets through. Roquan Smith just waiting there. And that is where you can see the frustration from Coach Evans on this one. He's like, just waiting again. I'm done. And sometimes you would see, we've talked about this. We've talked about how the rush defense was absolutely horrible. And then people like Mina Kimes, Bobby, up here, right here, she's calling out the rush defense. She says last year, the Ravens defense was second in the league in rushing success rate. So far this year, they're 32nd. And then she responded later. She's like, look, with the pass rush, if the Ravens are able to get back KVN and Nnamdi Madubuike, that's going to solve a lot of the problems. It's not going to, again, they're not game wreckers like Aiden Hutchinson. You're not going to have that, but it would solve some problems with the pressure. But she was like, I'm not sure that they have the front 7 to stop the run. Well, Roquan, you're part of that. We praised Roquan last week against the Browns. He was Defensive Player of the Week. Where did that guy go? He just absolutely disappeared. So part of it is the physicality is just the players themselves. But the other part is Zach Orr. I don't know what the personnel packages he was putting them in because he's setting up in a situation where they're really not going to do well.
This sets up nicely for Chris Long's analysis on this because not only does he mention Roquan, Sarah, but he sees this lack of whether it's physicality or tenacity or just straight up not being feared, as Marlon Humphrey kind of hinted at all offseason long. And Chris talked about this Ravens defensive performance from Monday night.
Right. You know, it's so funny. We look at them preseason and we're like, yeah, this team, you know, Kevin Clark called them of course they did team from this year. Like in retrospect, when you look back at years past and a team wins the Super Bowl, you're like, maybe I overcomplicated it preseason. Look at the roster. I think a lot of people kind of fell into that trap with the Baltimore Ravens this year where you look at some of the names on this team, obviously starting with their MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson. And you think, where are the holes? Like, you know, there's nothing really wrong with this team, but on defense, that's assuming that Roquan Smith is who he's been in the past, which I didn't see last night. That's assuming that, you know, Teddy Buchanan, the rookie linebacker, can be a big plus. I didn't see that last night. Obviously, they're down Madubuike. They're down Kyle Van Noy, probably their best 2 players inside and outside. Although OA would have something to say about that. Their defensive line doesn't wow me. You know, there's nobody out there, especially with Madubuike down, who's like, you know, you have to plan around this guy. And, you know, last night as the game went on, 224 yards rushing. And a lot of that was just sheer determination, you know, being determined to run the football, committing to it. I think they broke off probably 80 yards on one David Montgomery run backed up. But that's a lot of fucking yards, even if you take that big explosive out of it. They just kept at it. And Jared Goff said that after the game. He said the defensive line got tired. Another quote that stuck out to me after the game was Marlon Humphrey saying, this defense isn't very good. We're not very good. And I'm paraphrasing, but I would agree. And to me, Lamar and the offense can score. But as we've seen in the past, when you get in the playoffs, not all the games are going to be 68-point totals. And so how does your defense play in the big spots? Well, they haven't played very well in the big spots so far. And I got to be honest, Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey, they jump off the screen when you watch them. Those are the only two guys on that defense that jump off the screen for me. And if you were to take them off that defense, if you were to lose one of those two guys, and we're playing hypotheticals, right? I'm trying to illustrate the point. If you were to replace those two guys with average players, I don't know where this defense would have been last night. Or replace one of those two guys with anybody. It was just not pretty. They could not get a pass rush on Jared Goff. We all know who Jared Goff is when he's clean.
T Sizzle probably would agree, Sarah. He tweeted out a GIF here. His frustrations. It'd be interesting to talk to him, Sarah, as we did a couple weeks ago now, after this defense has put out, a couple real clunkers. Both in week one in that fourth quarter and now obviously getting thoroughly outplayed by Detroit. You heard him reference Jared Goff's thoughts post-game. And I listened to that press conference, and I'll just add some context to that from Chris Long just a second ago. It was essentially with those 90-plus yard drives where they just methodically, right, one of them was 98, a 98-yard drive. They just methodically wore down the Ravens throughout that, Sarah, in a bunch of different ways. Jared was essentially saying, hey, my offensive line was gassed, but they were playmaking for me. They were, yes, worn down, but they were working through it. And he's like, they were tired, but Baltimore's defensive line was more tired. And that right there, we saw that in the fourth quarter in Buffalo, and we saw it again at times on Monday night. This is a defensive front that does not wow guys like Chris Long, who played defensive end himself, and ultimately they have not been able to finish games for 4 quarters, Sarah.
I saw Terrell Suggs put up this meme, the one where you put your hand in your face and you're just shaking your head, and it's just yeah, I don't want to hear about this Ravens standard anymore. The days of Terrell Suggs are over. The days of Ray Lewis are over. The days of Ed Reed are over, and they're not coming back anytime soon. They're not coming back this season. It's not happening. I'm with Chris Long there, where it's you do kind of fall into a trap because you do have a Roquan Smith, you do have a Marlon Humphrey, you've got Jair Alexander signed, you've got the first round pick Malachi Starks, you've got Lamar Jackson, you have an All-Pro tight end and Mark Andrews and this and that, and so many of us were saying if the Ravens don't have the best roster, it's one of the best. So, but here's the problem, Bobby, is, okay, it's not one of the best as we're seeing. That being said, it's better than what I think we're seeing. And that's why, we're talking about Zach Orr a little bit here. We're talking about John Harbaugh a little bit here. It's because it's both. Okay. The roster was clearly overrated, but now is it playing beneath what the talent is on the team? And I think so. Chris Long did mention real quick that Marlon Humphrey popped out on him. Listen, we're not talking about Marlon's podcast. We talked about it yesterday after you left. That wasn't the best look, I don't think, for him to come on the way he did after that loss. But, and Marlon did get cooked a few times by Amon St. Brown. However, he was hustling. Unlike a lot of the guys, like we just pointed out with Roquan Smith, where you're like, what are you doing? Marlon Humphrey popped off the charts here when Roquan didn't fill that gap, by the way. Where is Marlon Humphrey coming from? That dude is back on the track. This is why you're hearing Chris Long saying, okay, Marlon Humphrey's one of the few people that popped off the screen. Are you kidding me? How he caught him there with Nate Wiggins, who had a better angle to it. That was insane. So that's probably one of the reasons. And Bobby, I do got to run, and you can maybe play this later. The other problem is because of those injuries, young rookies like Aeneas Peebles, like Mike Green, like Malachi Starks, if our Darius Washington hadn't been injured, these are guys that you could have brought along on a pace that would have been more appropriate, right? I still believe in all three of them. I think all three of them have potential. But the fact that they've now had to step in for Malachi Starks, it was week 1, and then Mike Green more week 2, and then both of them basically starting and are having starter-like snaps with Peebles and Mike Green. Like, they're not NFL starter ready, but they're having to be used like they are. So it's like all these different complex issues. Zach Orr not putting him in the best position. People like Roquan Smith not playing the way we think he should as an all-pro. And then you have all these rookies filling in who just aren't ready for this star role just yet. They could be someday, but just aren't ready now. These are all the things that they're going to have to work through on defense.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm. And I think just to sum up the Marlon Humphrey commentary, there's far bigger issues on this defense than Marlon Humphrey.
Agreed.
Yes, he got cooked on the double move by Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is what you just alluded to. And yes, that's a really difficult assignment for a slot corner. But there are far bigger issues on this defense than Marlon Humphrey's play. And I think channeling energy and frustrations is important when you look at, yes, it was a tone-deaf thing to tweet yesterday as he did. But channel your frustrations. They should be going elsewhere aside from 44's play.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. I know you have to go. So
Yes.
you go do that. I will finish up the show with super chats and quick hits and some other things before we jump. And you and I will catch up later.
Yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody. And I appreciate Coach Derek for coming on. Learned a lot of stuff there. Really good stuff.
That was incredible. Yeah, I'll catch up with you soon, partner. Appreciate you. And yeah, Derek Coleman, all 22 film analysis was, man, we'll see something. We appreciate his time for sure. Let's get some super chats, guys. Appreciate you for being with us. Did Eric, where did we leave off super chats wise? Let me make sure I get this correct. We had Bryce, we had Captain, we had Park Ice Prophet. Wait a second here. This is one of those strange population type gift things that happen on the back end. Ah, what the heck? Eric Hill, even though this came in at 11:43 a.m. and I've already displayed it because you're ridiculously generous, I'll throw it up there again. Thank you for the 50 spot. And I gave you a ton of meatloafs earlier on, so I'm going to go ahead and preserve my vocal cords. Sheree, what's up, Sheree? It's a $20 super chat. My first live since the game. Hello to PHP, the lovely Mrs. PHP, Eric, Tila, Jang, and everyone I met at Lot G. This loss hurts so bad. We shall bounce back. Did you guys see me on the jumbo screen? Were you on the jumbo screen? I must have missed that because I was there. Appreciate you, Sheree. Thanks for the super chat. Penn says, to the defense, or this defense, or I don't know. All I see is TOBJ defense. I don't know what this is. Is it the defense? Better not get dog walked in KC. Richard says he won't say the Ravens are soft, but I will. They soft. You talking about Chris Sims? Deshaun Davis says, can't believe Malik sold out like that. Hope he feels great about it. Malik Cunningham and his role that he played in ultimately getting a W or helping the Detroit Lions simulate Lamar Jackson. Kevin Bonham, what's up, Kevin? All I heard, LOL, is outcoached. Bad offensive line play for 45 minutes. Regime change is needed. Our fan base deserves more. We are all invested in this team, and it shows. Eric Hill, what's up, Eric? Who lives in South Carolina? I will be coming back. I need some good spots to eat. On another note, thanks, Coach, for your analysis. And Lamar will remember this and will not allow himself to be contained. Hashtag 6K for LJ. Hashtag win. God King. What's up, God King? Harb's experiment is blowing up in his face. I don't think Daniel was the issue. I don't think he was. God King Jafira says, EDC can't see how overwhelmed Orr is. WTF is going on. I don't think he's going to make that decision, by the way. Eileen Nolan says EDC needs to tell us how he's going to fix it. Juan says Rowe had to answer to Ray last week. He's not that guy on his own. Talented, but a leader, no way. Hate it, but they need to have Ray there somehow. And Ross Baltimore says Ray Lewis for head coach. Interesting. If you guys think that 77 was the problem on Monday night, I think you should think again. Super chats. 2025 interior defensive line pass rush win rate. Sarah threw this in. Malik Collins leads the way for Cleveland, 33.6%. Nnamdi, again, we're waiting a potential designation for him with that neck setback at 20.3%. Anybody else on this list that we should mention? Jeffrey Simmons, I know some of you have been calling for him. Bring him in at the deadline. He's a Tennessee Titan right now. He's on this list. Dexter Lawrence in New York. But again, if you think that there's somebody waiting out there in the wings, either on the street as a free agent or elsewhere that can save this team outside of a trade deadline acquisition, I don't know. I don't think that player exists. And I have not watched this segment yet, but maybe you guys have. Look at Chris Broussard and how he showed up. What is this? First Things First? I can't remember the show name, but maybe you guys can. And I actually haven't watched the segment itself with Nick Wright and others yesterday, but Chris with crutches, his arm in a sling, a neck brace, you name it. Chris Broussard. Maybe you guys have watched this by now. I have not, between travels and other film breakdowns and all the prep that went into today. I'm sure you guys enjoyed it. Brew, as only Brew can do, bringing entertainment levels to Fox. There you have it. Sean Carter, last week's ticket winner, courtesy of Eric Hill, writes, as a team, we have a lot of work to do. I don't want Orr to lose his job, but something has to give. We can't take an L from the Chiefs, but they're hungry for a win as well. We need those dogs. Appreciate you, Sean. Hopefully you had an awesome time inside the bank on Monday night. Blackout. No Way DJ and Sharu Hashmi, thank you both for believing in what we're building. You are this episode's Patreon shout-out members. And Sharu, man, he's even a small business Patreon for us. He brings it. All kinds of support from both of you guys. Appreciate you. Patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. If you want to give back to the channel, join an integral part of what we do and the Patreon community of a ton of patrons. Thanks, No Way DJ. And thanks to Sharu. Patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. Well, it will be a short week, obviously, with Ravens Chiefs looming on Sunday. There will also be press conferences coming up later today. 4:45 to be exact. John Harbaugh and select players will meet with the media. Tomorrow it switches back to normal. 3 o'clock coordinators. 1:10 is practice and media viewing. Today, practice and media viewing goes down at 3:15. Friday, 11:30 practice and media viewing, followed by John Harbaugh and select players at the open locker room. That'll be at 1 o'clock. So that's what's going on there. Dreams wants Sanusi Kane. He'll hit somebody. Second-year player, a day 3 pick out of Purdue, and a special teams stud. A lot more to come. Certainly a lot more to come. A special thanks to Derek Coleman from Ravens All 22 Film Analysis. A special thanks to my co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison. I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this one. Wellness Plus Care sponsored it. We appreciate them for the continued support. And again, as you've probably seen throughout the show in the bottom ticker, streaming, you can get 20% off your first testosterone treatment or on top of that, your first week of tirzepatide for just $40 if you mention the Vault when you call 410-202-3863. That is Brenda Boggs and her awesome team in Hunt Valley, Maryland. at Wellness Plus Care. WellnessPlusCare.com is where you can learn more. We appreciate she and her team for continuing to sponsor the Vault. All right, guys, as always, thanks for spending some time with us here inside this here Vault on a Wednesday. This has been your Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. Sarah and I will be back in well under 23 hours from right now. And again, I highly encourage you to go check out some of our recent commentary, our best of playlist section, where we break down our 90-plus minutes and repurpose that content into a short form 15 to 20-minute episode in our best of playlist again on the Vault's YouTube homepage. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you, as always, for stopping by. And as always, thanks for spending some time with us here inside the Vault. We'll talk to you soon.